All right, so I'm going to start by just going to games, and we're going to start using a vehicle level. And so they used to have two different vehicle levels and two different vehicles, but now they just have the one. And it features both a regular vehicle and a more complex vehicle, so they combine the two into one. Vehicle movements can be controlled with either the keyboard, a controller, or a joystick on a touch device. The advanced vehicle features working double wishbone suspension. There's also an engine sound in the template, and there's also a HUD that shows the current gear and speed as well in here. So you can use all those features in there, but I'll just call mine BJS Racing. And I call it kind of a racing driving game because it doesn't have to be a racing game. It can just be driving around, and just doing some driving on a course that you get to plan out. So, and I've got some specifics about how I want you to make the course. So as well. So it's a racing driving game, and the object is to have fun making it and playing it. All right, I'm just waiting for Unreal to open up. I did it with no starter content. All right, while I'm waiting for that to come up, I'm going to go ahead and show you some racing tracks, maps, things like that. So, because it looks like it may take a minute or two to come up. So. All right, so in our class, in this week's assignment, we're in week 6 already. I put a couple links to different types of auto racing, but then also racetrack designs. And if you're doing racing, like I said, it doesn't have to be a racing game. It can also just be driving, but there's different types of racing that exist, and I want you to be aware of those. So Formula Racing, which is using a Formula One car, which has a body that's kind of like a cockpit, and then you've got the 4 wheels with different suspension, and they're like super fast and aerodynamic, okay? And I'll let you all read about the different types. Sports car racing, where they're just racing sports cars that have 2 seats and enclosed wheels. And then they have stock car racing, which is kind of one of the more popular ones when you see, like every weekend they've got races and you hear about, Daytona race is coming up. That's stock car racing. And the term stock car means that the car comes stock, the way it is off the assembly line. They didn't modify it or anything like that. If they made modifications, they'd call it a modified car racing. And they're actually, if you go to some of the local smaller racetracks, maybe you live near one of those. I've never been, but I think there's one like 15, 20 minutes away from here. But anyway, and I don't know where it is, like I said, I haven't been here, but I've seen the signs for it, and they would race like modified cars, and so they do modifieds. But anyway, so stock car racing is the one that you mostly hear about when you hear about the Winston Cup Series and things like that. And then there's drag racing, where it's these super fast and aerodynamic and really powerful engines, these cars that they just race down like a quarter-mile strip. And that's drag racing, where they just go as fast as they can in a very short distance and see who wins. And so rally racing takes on public or private roads with specially built or modified road legal cars. That's kind of fun to watch, but it can be over miles and miles of terrain, but then they keep going around and around it. So a lot of fun to do that. Off-road racing. Tracks that have been planned in advance and the roads have been graded. A lot of times, like it's shown here, it's dirt road racing, but it can be, like it says here, sand, mud, riverbeds, snow, other natural terrains. Kind of fun to watch. It's probably really bumpy. You don't want to have neck and back problems if you're the driver of the vehicle, because you're going to get bounced around and Sometimes these guys roll as well. They roll the car over. Touring car racing, where you can see it kind of looks like a stock car, but they've modified them a little bit. But it's just a road race with heavily modified road-going cars. So, excuse me. So anyway, touring racing, production car racing. These are some of the nicer ones. Like the stock cars are going to be like Chevys, Fords, Toyotas, things like that, Chryslers. But these production car racing, you can see they're going to be the nicer cars off the assembly line. Like here, I'm looking, I can see the Mercedes symbol there in a couple of them. So they're going to be kind of the nicer cars that are also going to be faster off the production line right there. And then one make racing is where you just have one car. It's the same car, identical, and then everybody has their own version of it and drives it. Monster truck racing, if you've never seen that, that's a lot of fun to go to monster truck shows and see them. They have the supersized tires built up. Usually it can be like on an SUV body or any kind of body, but they've got these incredible suspensions in there. They can do flips, they can spin around, they do all sorts of fun things. They go off ramps. They've become really popular. Kart racing. Normally we think about that in real life as like go-kart racing, where you're just sitting low to the ground in just basically a frame that's been welded together. And normally you have like a lawnmower engine that powers it on the back. It can be like a Briggs & Stratton 5 horsepower engine or something like that, and that's what propels you. And so, but decades ago, they came up with this kart racing for video games, and it's like one of the most popular video games ever is to do kart racing. When my kids were younger, we used to do Crash Team Racing and CTR with Crash Bandicoot. Anybody a fan of CTR, Crash Bandicoot Racing? A couple of you? Oh my goodness, if you all have not played Crash Team Racing with Crash Bandicoot, that's like some of the best racing ever. So you definitely gotta try that if you have not, but I know there's other ones, Mario Kart and all that other stuff in there as well. Open wheel racing involves vehicles with wheels outside the car's main body. Anyway, dirt track racing, where just like it says, it's just a dirt track that you go, if you've never been to a dirt track, or if you go to some of the local racing things, in smaller towns. When I lived in Greensboro years ago, High Point had was it High Point? Anyway, there was a racetrack around there that I'd go to sometimes with my friends, and we'd go. And at the end of the night, you would have rubber like all over your face, in your hair, in your eyes, just from these guys going down the track, because you're sitting pretty close to the track. Granted, there's a fence in front of you, but they're burning rubber, and little rubber pieces are floating through the air, and it just gets all over you and everything. And it's the same with dirt track racing, is that when the cars go by, when you're done, you have dirt all over you. It's an experience, but it is kind of fun. So, hill climbing racing, that's where they start, like at the bottom of a mountain, and they go up to the top. And Pikes Peak is one of the tallest points in America, but they have races up Pikes Peak, and you build your car, and you might think, well, what's so fun about hill climbing racing? What's the challenge of that? So, in cars, when you're trying to go faster and you're going uphill at a steep incline, you're wearing that engine out, and the gears will start to overheat. And many of the people that build their cars and try to race and do hill climb racing, especially the first year inexperienced ones, they don't understand what's going on here. They don't understand how much wear and tear it takes to go up an incline for a long period of time. You're wearing out brakes and you're wearing out your transmission. And so a lot of times these guys will going up the hill and the transmission will fail, it'll blow, and all of a sudden there's transmission fluid all over the ground, and you didn't make it to the top. And so, anyway, I've seen those races before, and they're a lot of fun, but they're grueling races. And you're trying to get the best time, but a lot of times you've got to work your car to say, oh no, my car's overheating, so I gotta slow down for a little bit. I can't go as hard up these mountains. So it's kind of this dichotomy between I want to go as fast as I can to get the best time, but also I don't want my car to overheat and burn out my transmission and the engine and everything else. So it's kind of fun. So Hill Climb Racing. And then actually there's a fun app that I've been playing for probably like 15 years called Hill Climb Racing. Let me see, I've got it on my phone even. And I don't play it as much anymore, but I used to be amazing and have millions and millions of points on this one. And so, oops. I think it's called, Hill Climb Racing. It's like I think one of the more fun games that you can just play by yourself, get points. And what you do is you're going over rough terrain. You can, as you gain points from doing tricks and things, you can do front flips, you can do back flips. But if your player, the way your session ends is that when he lands upside down and breaks his neck. And so you do get points for breaking your neck, and then you just start over again and try and get through the levels. And there's many different levels. You can upgrade your car, your suspension, your engine, your brakes, your tires. It's a little cartoon game. It's actually a lot of fun. And you can get to the point where you go super fast over these ramps, and you can sit there and do multiple flips. And you're getting more and more points every time. And so, once you start doing 5 flips, 6, 7, 8, 9, you're like, can I get a dozen flips, 12? And then it's up to you when you stop twirling around, and you can either land and break your neck, or you can straighten yourself out, land, and try to keep going and gain more points. And so sometimes you just jump and try to get as many flips as you can. But Hill Climb Racing, it's a lot of fun. In real life, I haven't seen any that have ramps and things like that, and flips and all that. But Hill Climb Racing is fun. Endurance racing, where you're racing nonstop for 6, 12, or even 24 hours. Sometimes you can even have multiple drivers for that kind of a race. I have a friend who, I don't think he does anymore because he's like 81 years old, but up until about 10 years ago, he was doing this 24-hour endurance race. And he had a car that he'd use every year, and he had a friend and his son, and I think his son-in-law. There was like 4 of them. And over the course of 24 hours, they would take turns of driving the vehicle, and I think they drive it each for like an hour to 2 hours. And then, let's say 2 hours. And so every 2 hours, the next driver would come, so you would drive it like you drive it 3 times to get your 6 hours in it. So, but anyway, it's just endurance racing. You're just going around a course over and over and over again for 24 hours. So, and Le Mans was like that. Le Mans race is also an endurance race. Ice racing. I haven't seen any ice racing lately, but it's just racing on ice. Trying to think of if I've ever seen, I think I have seen some ice racing. I grew up in Michigan, and we used to drive snowmobiles on the lakes when they'd freeze over, and people would take their trucks out there and just kind of do donuts on the lake in the snow and everything. And so, but I don't know that I've seen any racing on it. I've seen snowmobile races, but not like ice races. Midget car racing, I've seen lots of midget car races that are a lot of fun. It's just basically a car on a dirt track. Truck racing, they still do that in NASCAR as well. There's a NASCAR truck series that they do. And then just some facts. I talked about Le Mans. The 24-hour of Le Mans is the oldest active sports car race held since 1923. So if you've never watched the movie Ford versus Ferrari, it's actually really good. It's based on a true story of how Ferrari every year would win the Le Mans 24-hour race, and how Ford was like, we gotta beat these guys and show them that America can build better cars. And it's about how Carroll Shelby got involved in that, and it's kind of a very fun movie to watch. And so anyway, it talks about how Ford ended up, besting Ferrari at the Le Mans. So anyway, that's a link that I provided for you to talk about all different types. So I went over those so that you can decide, hey, do I want to try one of these different types of racing courses and vehicles and things like that? So, yeah.
2 questions. Have you ever played Burnout Revenge or any of the Burnout games?
Oh man, I love Burnout. It's one of my favorite games. Yeah.
Burnout Revenge is my childhood right there. But speaking of Burnout, have you ever been to a demolition derby?
Yes, I have. When I was younger, I actually thought about entering the demolition derby because I was living in Greensboro, and there was a track close to us, and my friends would go. And one of my friends, he bought a demolition derby car, and he did it. He just found like an old station wagon for $100, and then he took a sledgehammer. He just beat out all the windows because you can't have any glass in there. And once he did it, I was like, man, that would be a lot of fun. But
how do they protect the drivers?
Well, sometimes you don't. When you're driving, you got to protect yourself.
Wear a helmet.
So yeah, you definitely wear a helmet and a suit. But the thing is you don't hit them like in the driver's side.
Right.
And so you're normally hitting front and back. You can hit them in the side, but normally it's like front and back hitting.
Yeah.
Is the thing. But yeah, it's all kind of understood. You're not trying to hurt the other drivers. So yeah. Huh?
I said unless you want to win.
Yeah, unless your mortal enemy is in a car or something, so. All right, and then Racetrack Designs. I found a really good page for it, and it's actually a kid's page, but it has all the racetrack designs, and I was like, I'm putting it on here anyway. So I've been using this for a couple years. All right, there's different kinds of track designs. There's an oval track, which is one we are not gonna be using. We're not doing oval tracks, but I just want you to make you aware. NASCAR does most of those left turn, all their left turns. We're doing more of like a serpentine track where you can see this road course right here. Let me crank these up a little bit so you can see them better. But anyway, this would be an acceptable course. This would probably almost be too long for what we're doing for our assignment. Like you could probably take half of this and with the twists and turns and things, and it would probably be pretty good. Or you could just cut off this little hairpin right here and cut that short, and that would be a pretty good track. There's Street Circuit, where actually they race literally in the streets of a city. Detroit does it, and here they have the Monaco Grand Prix. But yeah, it's just where they map out, they block off city streets, and they let the cars drive down the city streets, and it's kind of fun to watch that. But anyway, so this would be an acceptable course. And again, if you just cut it off at one place, it doesn't have to be this long. It could be something like just here. So there's different types of tracks, and is that it? Yeah, those are the main ones. And these can be either paved, they can be dirt, they can be half and half. It doesn't, they can be some of going down a creek bed. It doesn't all have to be one type of ground that you're working on. You can have a mixture of stuff there. So, all right, now a couple things to talk about here when on racetracks is that when you have a racetrack and you want the public to watch you, you have what's called a grandstand. And if you'll notice right here, well, this one says it's a tunnel, but there's going to be a grandstand. Here's the start-finish line right here. And normally the grandstand will be by the start-finish line, and that's just a bunch of bleachers where the fans are going to be sitting there watching the cars as they come down the straightaway. And then you can also have stands in different places, but the grandstand is the main one there in front of the start-finish line. And you also are going to have a grandstand there in front of your line or in front of your car as well. So anyway, but just be aware of that here's another one. There's the start-finish line, and there's going to be a grandstand here, normally in front of a straightaway, so it gives the fans the best view of watching the race when they're not able to see it because they're driving all these other areas if it's far away. If this track is like a 5-mile track, then it looks like maybe a mile here of the straightaway and a mile around here, another mile, another mile, another mile. And so you can only see the car so far, and then when it goes in the other parts of the track, you can't see it. So anyway, usually the grandstand is near in front of the start-finish line there. So, But anyway, that's what we're looking for. And again, I'm going to say not an oval track. So we want something more interesting than an oval track. So that's why I showed those. All right. So Unreal has popped up. So let's go ahead and take a look at Unreal. All right. So I'm using the vehicle template. And I can just go ahead and hit play and see what their default stuff is there. There's the car. And then if you just use your WASD keys, you can steer, turn around, and you can brake. And so if you press the S key, that's braking. So I can get really fast there, and you can see on the lower left corner, I've got the speed, kilometers per hour. It tells you what gear you're in. Oh my goodness, there's a hairpin turn. And so anyway, and you can even go off-road. I'm going off-road. Woohoo! Off-road. So anyway, you can do all that as well. So let's take a look. So there's a nice acceptable track, and it's not all left turns. It's got some nice curves, some nice turns that can be challenging to it, where they can't just go, full pedal to the metal all the way around the track. They've got to slow down for some of these sharper turns. So it is going to require some skill to get around the track. But yet there's a few straightaways where they can put the pedal to the metal, slow down, take a curve, and then hit the pedal again. And so you want to have a variety of track so that the players can have a variety of speed. I know we like to go just, hey, pedal all the way down, and I just want to be able to do that. But if you want some challenge, and if you want there to be a little bit of skill when driving the track, usually you'll have some different turns, maybe some sharper ones. So, all right. Now, they've already used the spline tool to create this track that's on here. And modifying it, you can see there's some points on there, and if you just click the points on there, you can, when you go into your, up here, selection mode, if you go into the landscape mode right there, landscape mode, and the landscape mode is where you have the spline tool. So if I go into manage, and then you see over here where it says splines right there, and so now I can create splines or I can modify them. So if I wanted to take this area here, and if I just clicked on maybe that little piece right there, and I'm going to raise this up a little bit. I'm going to raise it up, and that's a pretty steep one there. So I'm also going to raise this up a little bit, and oh, my camera's pretty slow. Let's see. Make it like 3. There we go. And then raise this one up a little bit. Maybe that's too much, but you know what? I'm going to take it. And the cool thing you can do with this is you can take it, and I'm going to bank this curve. So you can also take it and you can rotate them. Now be careful when I'm rotating this. Here's the line. You can see this dotted orange line that I would like to rotate this on, but I don't have any of my rotation axes on that line there. It's split, and I would have to rotate it on this axis and on that axis. That's because I'm currently, on world coordinates. And if you click up here and go to local coordinates, then it takes that selection there, that little piece, and it makes it so that it gives me a rotation that's down the axis that I want. So I'm going to take it and I'm just going to rotate it just a little bit to get kind of a banked curve there, okay? How does that look? So that's not bad. Maybe I'm going to bank it just a little bit more, like that. And I'll take this one. Maybe I'll bank this just a little bit. Yeah, and pull it up a little bit as well. There we go. And I'll pull this one up just a little bit more. So you are going to have to play around with them a little bit. There we go. And so now when I hit play, Oh, it started me like on the bank. I should have moved my car. Oh, I'm under the, let's start that over again. So where's my,
Player start.
my player start is right there.
Oh, we're in landscape.
Oh yeah, thank you. In landscape mode, go back to selections. Player start. Pull it back a little bit so I'm actually not starting under the track. There we go. That looks good. So now when I hit play, I raised up the track. And, you know, I take the time to probably make this a little smoother and better. I was gonna do this for something that I wanted you all to play, but I'm just showing you can go ahead and edit them and all of that in there. So, all right, so anyway, so it has editing after you make your track as well. Now, what if I wanna make my own track and everything else? So we can do that. So I'm gonna go, I'll save this one. File, new level, and I'm just gonna use a basic level here. It's already got a skybox in it. It's got a piece of land in it right there, which I'm fine with, totally okay with that. And let's see, you know what? I'll go back into landscape and just for the fun of it, I'll make a little track here. So I'm gonna get the number of components to 4 each, and then I'm just gonna create this. I'm not gonna worry about putting a material on it right now. This is just for demo purposes. I'll go back to manage, go back to splines. And so now what I can do, I probably wanna zoom out to see everything there. And so what I'd like to do is I would like to create my spline, and there's several different things you can do. I can create a spline to make my terrain be a track. So I'm gonna start it kind of right here. Try not to start it on a curve, try to start it on a straightaway. So I'll click and click, whoops, no, am I holding, you have to hold something. Holding shift, control, is it control? Click, thank you, click, 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 click. Be aware of making your turns too sharp. Oh, and if you accidentally stop it like this, that's okay. If you click on the end piece, right there, if you click on the end piece, hopefully I'll get it, you can continue creating. Oh, there it is. If you hold control. And then when you click on the first piece you made, it will close the loop. So something happened over here, I'm not sure what, so you can click on them, you can delete them. I don't know, something happened over here. Delete. Delete. Zoom in. All right, but anyway, just for time's sake. All right, once I've done this and I've built it, and I've got the look I like, you can come back here and you can take these and modify the pieces. So I'm just gonna select those pieces and then I'll hold shift to add to my selection, not control, because control would make more pieces. So I'm adding to my selection here, and I'm gonna pull those up. And here's the cool thing about using terrain for this, is that when I have terrain, I can move the terrain. The terrain will adhere or move with the layout of my spline here. Okay, so it'll sculpt according to my spline. So I'm going to. I'm just going to say right here, deform landscape to splines. I'm just going to do all of them. So, and in fact, you know what? Let's do this before we do it. I'd like the whole track to lift up a little bit. So I'm gonna select all segments, and then I'll use my move key, maybe. Select all, maybe it's control points. And I'm just gonna move everything up just a little bit off the ground. And now I'll say deform the landscape to splines. You can do it to either just the selected ones, I have them all selected, or you can do it to all of them. So when I click all, it's deformed it now, the land there. Yeah, so now when I come around, it gives me some lower spots down here, and it also gives me some raised areas up there. And so, and it will even go below the land. So if I click on some of these, like I'll click on this one, I'll hold shift and click on this one and this one, and I'm gonna pull those below the ground level. I don't know how far I went, let's, oh, okay, yeah, I went in a valley, but that's okay, let's see what it does. And then once again, deform landscape to splines, only the selected ones that I just did. Well, you know what, I can still do to all splines. Boom, and now it takes it and puts it down there. So it gives me a nice little valley. I'd probably have to modify that, but I'm basically just trying to show you how the terrain tool is really good for modifying. And once you've done this, you can now go back into your sculpt tool, and you can continue to use the tools we're already familiar with. The noise tool, retopologize, flatten, smooth, ramp, things like that in there. So you can use all that. Now, in the other demo, the default one there, they had a track on there, and I don't see a track. Okay, so you actually can take a 3D object, like I mentioned, you could do a fence down here, and you can take a track piece and you can throw it down this piece right there as well. So I'm gonna go back into there. I want to select all my, I can't remember if it's segments, and then you can, where is it? It's over here in details, I believe. You can, so I selected all the segments, and then you can add a, right there, update your spline mesh levels. So you can add a mesh to it. Oh, no it isn't, not there, it's up here. Landscape spline meshes, okay? So, I'm gonna click the plus sign right here, and now I can add, see I can add more than one even. So over here, and there's already the track in here, so I'm gonna go find that track piece, and there it is right there, SM track 10M, so I'll click on that, and it puts it in there, and now that track piece is in there. Now you're looking at it and you're like, well, wait a minute, it's going through the ground there. Okay, it is. So one of the things I'm gonna tell you is if you're gonna build a mesh as a track, you need to make sure it's got enough segments so that it can bend properly, okay? Think about it. If I have, thank you Warren for the ruler. If this is one segment right here, and I'm gonna put it on a curve, it doesn't curve to my body, does it? I would need to put segments all through here, and then I would get a nice curve. It would be, if we looked at it that way, it would bend really nicely and curve. But if it's one segment, it's not gonna curve. So if you're going to build something to a mesh that you want to follow the spline and you have curves and hills and valleys, make sure to give it enough segments so that it will bend properly, okay? And it won't do this. Sometimes that happens because of levels of detail, and it's just we're so far away, that's what it looks like, and it may not look like that to the player when they're driving. So, but if it is like that, that's a pretty steep hill that I made. I probably should smooth some of that out and not make it so steep. I don't think the vehicle that is supplied for us is even gonna go up that. That's just way too steep. So be aware of that as well. Which means, and I think I've got this hill too steep too. It's okay to come down that hill and drive, but going up that hill, it may not make it. So I wonder if I could try it. I don't know if I have a player starting here or not. Let's see. Ready, player start? I do. Let's go find it. Player start, and let's drag the player start up. Oh, I'm in landscape mode again. So I'm going to go to selection, player start, bring my player up over just a little bit, and let's hit play and see. All right, let's see. Okay, so yeah, you can see. Oh, I don't have the car. So, but anyway, you can see that I probably need to smooth out my terrain a little bit because the track doesn't have enough segments. Oh, they're corrected. I'm just looking at the track right now to see what kind of what fixes I need to make for it. So hey, let's see. So going down is not usually a problem. It's going up that is usually the problem. So yeah, and see. All right, so I'm going to have to fix that. It's just way too steep, and it doesn't give me a good. The terrain is coming through, and I don't want that. So I would make this less steep, smooth it out. So, all right, very good. Now, in addition to putting the track on there, I mentioned that I could also have like I could also put like a fence there, right? Or some other mesh. So I don't have a fence. I wonder if I could. Let's just see. I'm going to go back into landscape mode. Wonder if I could make one real quick in modeling mode. Let's just try it and see. So I'll take a box and create the box. And you know what? Maybe I'll just scale it a little bit. And so I'll accept it. That's fine. I'll just have a box. And generated. There's the box right there. Okay, and it's just called box 65A. So if I go back into landscape mode, right there, and I'm going to select all my segments, and they've already got the track on them. But let's put another mesh on it. So I'm going to go over here and click the plus sign again. And this time, I'll go to, that's index 0, I'm going to roll that one up. I should see index 1, there it is. So I'm going to get to add another mesh. Let's see if I can add that box 65A right there, click. And let's just see what it does. And I'll put it on there. And did I have all of them selected? I did, so it should put a box everywhere. Oh, maybe I didn't select them all. Oh, there. Yeah, I did. Look at that. Wow. So there's these huge boxes everywhere. So it's probably not really a good example. Maybe I should go ahead and make a fence that I can put on the side. But anyway, once you play around with this, you'll get to see how it works going down, and you can make adjustments. The center adjustment here, yeah, it's right in the center. I don't want it there. Let's make a center adjustment. Ooh, scale to width? Nope. Uncheck that. Now it's just small little boxes on there. You can see them in there. And adjust, center adjust. Let's move them over on, I don't know which axis. How about 100 units? Oh, how about 1,000 units? There we go. And it pushed it all the way over to the side there. And if that had been a fence piece, then it would border all of those. Here you go. But I would have to make it the same length of these segments, like that road segment right there. I'd have to make it the same length as the road segment. Well, how much is that? Let's do this real quick, just so I can give you an idea. So I'm going to go back into index 0, right there, and I want to go browse to that track, and there it is. And I want to see what are the dimensions of the track. So it looks like you can see the approximate size is 1,000 by 1,000. It's 13 units high. So right there, that little blue stuff, the curves are 13 units high, and then it's 1,000 units across, and it's 1,000 units this way. Okay, so it's 1,000 by 1,000. Whoa. right there. And it's got only a few triangles, 1,136 triangles. And so that's pretty cool. So let's go make a fence piece real quick. And I want to make the fence piece, if I click on, let's see, I'm going to double click this because we want the fence to be, hold on, the same direction as like the curb is going to be here. Well, what direction is that? I'm looking right here. It's going to be down the x-axis. So the length of the fence will be down the x-axis right there. Well, let's go into Maya real quick and just make something like that. Just real quick. And we'll see how this works. I'm not going to make like a super complex model. I'm just going to make something that we can use, throw in there, and hopefully it'll work and look good. While Maya's open. Oops, wrong one. All right, we're waiting on Maya to open up. So anyway, I'm just trying to give you guys ideas. I could even put shrubs, I could put billboards. Think about all the things, if you've ever watched a race before, you know, what are all the things that you see at the sides of roads that you could put up at the sides there? What have you seen?
Trees.
Trees. You could put small trees, large trees, medium-sized trees there. What else have you seen? What? Bleachers. You could put bleachers there. What?
Giant fences to like cages and stuff to grab stuff
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, giant, the metal fences. Yeah, absolutely. Giant fences. What else?
Tires to absorb impacts.
Yes, tires to absorb impact. What else do you see?
Barriers.
Barriers, yeah, barriers of all kinds to keep the fans safe and to keep the players safe if they hit it. Hunter, what else?
People.
Yeah, people. You see people at the sides of the road. So all of these things, you need to be thinking that, okay, these are things that I need to put into my level there. So, all right, Maya's open. Very good. Let's experienced. All right, so it's got to be 1,000 by 1,000. So I'm just going to create a. I'm just going to create a box, and let's see, how big is it? I'm going to make the box, I don't know how big, like 50 by 50, how about that? So 50 by 50 by 50, and that's good, because it's going to be 1,000 by 1,000. And then, let's see, I'll give it 3 segments, just to help it. Oh, on all the different axes. So just for the fun of it. And let's see, what do I want to do here? So I don't want to make it 1,000 tall, just make it 50 tall. You know what? So let's make it 20 by 20. How about that? Okay. And then I'll expand it out. How about actually, I'm going to do this. I'm sorry, I'm going to change my mind one more time. I'm going to make it 100 by 100 by, let's see, let's do this. Yes. Nope. Yeah. 20 is this one. There we go. All right. All right, I kind of like that. And then let's give it one more segment. Which way? Nope, not that way. Not this way. Yes, that way. Give that one more segment. Make that 2, make that 2 maybe. How about just 1? And One. There we go. Okay, I kind of like that. And then I'll just take these pieces right here and face mode. I'm going to grab that piece. I'm going to grab that piece and extrude those out. Sorry, it's been a while since where's my extrude? Oh, don't do that. Where's my extrude
Control,
feature?
press shift and the move tool.
Shift move?
Yeah.
Thank you. Shift, no. There. Thank you. Let's see, how far out do I want to go?
Go up. How far to
It just split them because I did like multi or something like that. It'll go back.
Oh,
Let's see, and actually, here we go. So if I can go back to the move tool. Let's see, I'm gonna select, let's see, go to face mode, I'll select those. Now I need to have multiple segments here. So I'm gonna, because remember it's gotta bend. So, I get this. So normally I would, let's see, anyway, let's just keep going. I've gone this far, let's make it all the way. And then one more. Alright, that's good. And alright, and I'm just gonna bring that one down, bring that one down. Alright, and I got my fence. So just for the fun of it. Alright, so let's go back to object mode. Alright, let's see, how do I set my pivot? Let's see, I want my pivot to kind of be like right there, but don't I go into modeling tools and edit my pivot. The pivot, let's close enough. All right, and we'll just see how it goes. So, all right, I'm good there. All right, let's export it. File, export all. And I'm just gonna export it to my
project already.
downloads. I'm just gonna download it, export it there. Fence, my bind, nope, let's make it a FBX. Everything looks good, there's no animation on it. And geometry, make sure you check smoothing groups as well so you don't get an error. And there's no animation on it, I don't want any animation, so check that and then export all. All right. Let's go back into Unreal. Hopefully that'll work well. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, I'm gonna go back into my selection mode, go back into my BJ Swearingen folder, I'll go back into my downloads folder and grab my fence FBX wherever I put it. Oh, did I miss something? It's under my BJ Swearingen. I thought I put it in downloads. Users BJ Swearingen fence.fbx. Users BJ Swearingen. There it is, fence. And import it all. Yeah, I know, it's got problems with it. I just did it quick. All right, so now I'm gonna add this. Instead of that box, I'm gonna add that fence. Let's see what happens. Fence. Yes, look at that. Added the fence on there. How cool is that? So, and I wanna select all of them. So, select all connected segments. Well, let's do it from landscape mode, select all segments, and then I'll go back and add on index 1 the mesh, I'll add the fence. Boom, and now I've got fence pieces. It's interesting. It's missing there, but it's here. But anyway, you can see, and look, it even curved it. It's even got a little bit of a curve because I gave it the segments, so that's good. So you get the idea, and I'll go ahead and fix this when you guys are working. But anyway, I just wanted you to see that. If I scale it to width, that's not going to be good. It's like scaled it over the whole thing. We don't want that. So I'm going to uncheck scaled out to width there. So, all right, so it turned out pretty good. And it shouldn't replace the street. It should add them both. There's a selection for that. And I'll have to look for it. Let's see. I don't know where it is. But you can have both the track and the other mesh on there at the same time, and they'll both do and they'll both be there and they'll both work fine. So, all right. Any questions on splines, track? You can just play around with it and have some fun with it. So, all right. Let's go over our assignment, and then I'll let you guys work. Should save this first. Save as about track demo. So, all right, very good. All right, so our assignment for this week is to do pre-production materials for this. So you're going to design a level for a driving or racing game. I want you to choose a theme for the race, find resources to support that theme. So we already looked at all the different types of auto racing that are in here. So you can pick something and then you can modify it. You know, if you think about, Wreck-It Ralph, the movie, if you've seen that, they had a race in there, the Candy Crush race, and the theme was candy. And so there was just candy everywhere, hard candy and chocolate and all sorts of stuff, and it was kind of fun. But their cars were, I think they were like open tire cars. And so I can't remember now. But anyway, and back when I was just a kid, there was a cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon, and a comic book called The Wacky Racers. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with The Wacky Racers, but that's another one that you can take a look at. So, Wacky Racers. And so, from 1968.
Oh, I know.
You may recognize some of these. They have memes,
Good dog.
Dick Dastardly, Muttley, Penelope Pitstop, things like that. Those were some of the more famous ones. But anyway, the Wacky Racers, and you can see them. But they had a lot of different vehicles. Like here's all the different vehicles they had as well. So there's, airplane cars, monster cars, caveman cars, open wheels, and all sorts of different things. So, what is that? The short track racing. So, but anyway, so there's lots of stuff that you can find out there for a theme and have fun with it. The actual track must be serpentine and not oval. We pretty much talked about that already. The environment can be either like city or road or off-road. I don't want this to be like a NASCAR track. So the road should have ups and downs. I want you to add at least one ramp for a jump. If the environment is a road track, add some bank curves as well. The environment can also be in water, underwater, in the sky, space, something else, but run it by the instructor if you're not sure. But I'm pretty open to having it be a racetrack in just about any environment because I think they're fun, they're interesting. The actual avatar can be almost any type of vehicle. Some examples: boat, plane, motorcycle, bike, snowmobile, almost any mechanical object. I don't want you to use humans and animals for vehicles. No humans, no animals for vehicles. So figure out something out. Sketch the layout for your level this week, add the track shape, make sure the sketch has color, it has a good visual quality. You know what? I'm gonna let y'all use AI for sketching out your layout for your track if you would like to. It's not a requirement, but if you would like to use AI to draw out your track, you can do that, okay? And then tell AI to add things in. Or once it's drawn, then you can take it into Photoshop and label it and add things like the grandstand, the track, barriers, fences, pits. So pits, let me define what pits are. So last year when I did this, I said pits, and I assumed everybody knew what pits were, and not everybody knew what pits were. Some people put pits in the road, like you drive over it and it's a pit that you fall into. In racing, that's not what pits are. Pits are pit stops, where you have to pull off the road and get fueled up or make driver changes or whatever. A pit is for the pit row, a pit stop that's kind of off the track. So that's what I mean by pits, not like a pit you fall into. So you also have to have a start-finish line. You have to have a ramp. I want you to have hazards, power-ups, collectibles, and breakables. So now we're starting to think more like Mario Kart type stuff. We're thinking about Crash Team Racing. If you're in the city, make sure you label buildings, bridges, and other objects. If you're having a road race, label trees, forests, other objects. Where are they going to be? If you're doing water, space, air, underground, other things, label things in the level. I just want labels. And then describe the theme of your level in 1 or 2 paragraphs. And then this week, start looking through Fab packages, and I want you to identify packages from Fab, or you can gather and create your own textures and meshes to use in the level. Just like I made a fence, obviously I didn't make it as a final product, I just was trying to show you something. And here's what I want, eventually we're gonna have in our level, 5 hazards in the level. You figure out what the hazards are. Remember, go to your book if you need help figuring out hazards and power-ups and collectibles and things like that. 2 power-ups. What are some power-ups in racing games you've played?
Speed.
What?
The speed.
Speed power-ups, that's right. It's in all of them. You hit a little, usually it's like the green diagonal lines, right? You hit that and What are other power-ups you find in racing games?
Turtle shell.
Oh.
Turtle shell? That's right. For you Crash Team Racing fans, you get the Hublaga, right? So there's a Hublaga, and the Hublaga can wipe out other players, and there's bombs that you can grab a bomb and you can throw it at one of your co-racers and wipe them out. So power-ups that you can do, a collectible. So something you can collect that the player can drive through and collect as they're driving. And so, yeah, it could be a coin. This time, if you want to do a coin, I'll let you do coins. And you've got to have 2 things, at least 2 things in your course that the driver can drive through and break. Okay, drive through breakables. So 5 hazards, 2 power-ups, 1 collectible, 2 breakables. If you want to do more than that, you're welcome to. That's just the requirement. And then for this week, the point breakdown is the quality of the sketch. I want it to be a good-looking sketch, 30 points, drawn in labels. Labels are super important because again, a diagram is a communication document with everybody else and for yourself. So labeled items are very important, that's why I give them 40 points. And then writing the description of what your level's gonna look like and all the stuff in it, 30 points, so. Yes, question?
How many weeks will this assignment be?
So this pre-production is 1 week and let's take a look. I don't know if I give you 3 weeks or 4 weeks. That's a great question. Let's look at our schedule. According to the schedule, we are gonna have where's the, let's see, racing pre-production, racing, 4 weeks. 4 weeks for the racing game. So this week we're doing pre-production. Next week we're gonna sculpt our racetrack and add materials. And after that we're gonna add meshes. And after that we'll add our blueprints. So, and in between there somewhere we'll have other fun things to do like special effects, sound effects, lighting, things like that. We'll be adding all of that stuff in there in the next 4 weeks. So anyway, yes.
We on like 5, we like to use like certain movies, like environments that you can already kind of drive in if we like change up the road or.
You can use the pieces from those, but assemble it yourself. So yeah, assemble it yourself. But if they have like track pieces in there and you're like, that's a really cool looking track, I want to use that, feel free to use it. Yeah. Yeah, you can use the meshes and pieces, but I want you to design your own road path, your own course. But you can use meshes from those levels to support your artistic theme for it. So, yes.
Also, if you use AI, be nice to it, because it will,
If you use AI,
use the AI.
it'll remember.
Yeah, because when they become overlords,
Oh, okay.
I always say thank you after.
Okay, yeah, so yes, you can use AI for helping you draw what your level is gonna look like. So I will allow it. So, all right, I'm gonna give you guys the rest of the time for lab time to get started, do some research, start drawing some sketches and planning and everything else. Yes?
Do you have access to like pens for these?
I do, yeah, you want one?
It
Sure.
helps like sketching out.
All right, so Brayden asked if I can get one of the pens for the Wacom tablet, for the Wacom monitor. Does anybody else want one while I'm grabbing one for him? Okay, that's fine.
I didn't hear.
If you want to draw on the monitor to start sketching out, did you want a pen for that? Usually vertex animation is actually what every vertex takes up a lot is animated, and it takes up a lot of processing power, but maybe they figured out a way to make it more efficient.
6 years old. I did this, but that's all price tag.
You don't want to Yeah, I wouldn't do it. Vertex animation.
Which you do.
It's like, yeah, it's like you're animating
Well,
it,
they
but
say
you
they
take
can
out
do
all
it
the
with
sprites.
sprites. You know, they have 3D frames.
That's interesting. So what they're doing there is they're having the sprites.
Imagine it's just like up and down.
Well, the sprites are controlling the certain areas of vertices and so on, whatever. So yeah, they're still up and down, but it's still pretty processors and it's still moving
This
vertices.
actually is like, the computer, so we're going to load this.
No matter what I do.
It's good.
Yeah. It's actually pretty easy to set up.
Yeah, it's like, it's just any other tutorials, like, the production, we had to start something.
And so it's tiles. Yeah. Actually, it fluctuates on some of the.
Yeah, it came with it was like a use. For like a certain. I don't know. You get hit once, that's like, so basically you get hit once.
Way too
Yeah, if you survive, I think it's 30 seconds.
But we're gonna do that.
That's how much.
Wait seconds.
That's definitely the easiest. These are like bigger.